Have you ever felt like you're smiling in public, but silently struggling in private? Like you're praying every day, but still waking up with a heavy heart? You're not alone. Stress, anxiety, depression. They don't care how strong you are. They don't ask about your title. They don't skip over the faithful Christian. In this first installment of our Mental Health Awareness series, Pastor Patrick Graham joins us for Candid Conversation. Why am I sad? Together, we'll explore the real struggles behind the smile, how faith and mental health can coexist, and what to do when your soul feels heavy, even when you believe and trust in God. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of our Real Talk Mental Health Awareness series. We are so glad to have Pastor Patrick Graham with us. I'm going to just bring him on into the studio, and we're going to get started right away. Patrick, man, it's good to have you.
Hey,
Man, before we begin, right, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I have you on because not only are you a pastor, but you are a mental health clinician. You've gone through your degree program. If you
yeah,
you're almost through that PhD program,
yeah,
man, which I'm
yeah,
very proud of you about,
yeah.
man, doing
Thanks, man.
something on anxiety, your dissertation on anxiety.
Yeah,
And I just thought that it was a good thing to start this conversation for this month off with you, based off your experience, your professional experience, but also your real life experience. So
yeah.
just tell us a little bit about you, then also tell us a little bit about your podcast and the group that you run, the MSAD as well.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, man, I'm going to tell you, you are inspiring. We've started this together and dropped off along the way, but I know that it's a
Yeah.
calling. It's a tool in my life. That's what I call it, a tool in my ministry belt, to deal with mental health. Um, still have about a week or so left to go to until I get my dissertation date, but ready to go with it. Dave, you know this, and I'm glad I'm the only one that could call you that, Doc. But
Yeah. Don't call
I,
me Dave, man.
yeah, I have to say that um, that many of us go through a lot of trials, go through overwhelming situations, and we just don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
And many times we just call it the blues or something of that nature. But what we're really actually going through is some type of stress, some type of anxiety, some type of depression. I mean, it's like this threefold thing that's out there. And I do believe that I want to bring this to my congregation and my community to be able to wake them up about how you're feeling or what's going on. And so
Yeah.
that's why I went back to school. You know that you're a mentor of mine that brought me through all of this, and I believe that with this tool belt, there's something that I have to offer. There's an influence that I have to offer, and that's why I started MSAD, managing stress, anxiety, and depression. I did it about 7 years ago, but it's really starting to come to fruition now.
Sure.
So there's a page that I have on Facebook, managing stress, anxiety, and depression, and YouTube. And I just try to encourage people every day and start a community, or online community, where there's no shame, there's no guilt, as far as it's concerned. And so far so good. I'm enjoying the journey.
All right. Well, Pat, let's start with sort of a grounding question, right?
Okay.
When you hear the words stressed, anxious, and depressed,
Hmm.
what comes to mind for you, sort of personally, or even pastorally, even?
Wow. Um, Personally, this is how I feel that um life is just overwhelming as it is, right? And it's we're carrying things around with us from day to day, every step that we make. And what happens is that we start to feel isolated or stuck. It's difficult to do small tasks. Some things that are very simple seem impossible to do, and so for a personal thing is that I believe that I have a compassion, or passion that I should say, towards hoping to fix those things, not just with other people but with myself. you have to recognize where the problem is, and say, even before you start to pour out to someone, um you make sure that you're pouring into yourself. That's the personal side of it. When I hear stress, anxiety, and depression, we all get touched by it somewhere during life, and we have to be able to remedy those things. And personally, I feel like God has blessed me to manage. That's the key word for me, is to manage it, but also help other people fix it. On the pastoral side of it, of course, this is my life. It brings to mind that people are quietly battling feelings, sitting in the church pews, trying to be brave, desperately seeking hope, um, safety. And I want to be able to give people the permission, uh, um, my members, even the community, permission to feel, permission um, to use the church as a refuge.
Yeah.
So that's personally and pastorally, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, man, there's no more perfect people. And so if you can't be, God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, and Jesus and let people in their little perfect circle. So if you can't be perfect, you might as well be human with human emotions and human problems and the complexities of what goes into having into us being human. And a lot of people don't understand that stress is sort of just the natural reaction that your body goes
Sure,
through when it encounters change. So
sure.
all of us experience stress, but not all of us experience anxiety or really depression. And so, why do you think? And let me put this question up: why do you think these particular struggles, stress, anxiety, and depression, seem so common, especially within our faith community?
Wow. Tremendous question, because it can be considered a taboo, right? In our system, in our faith community. This is where we build out of. But number one, people have a high expectation, right? Their high expectation and the pressure to feel like everything is okay, everything is all right. When you step into a faith community, it's almost like you said, we just feel like we're supposed to be perfect. It doesn't happen that way, right? Life has pain that's connected to it, and for some reason we connect pain to sin, or pain to sinners, while everyone who's okay is perfect. I mean, we go from one extreme to the other extreme, and that's where the danger comes in. And we do have a theology of should. This is how we should feel, this is how we should be. And many times, uh, um we fit ourselves in that category. Are we connected to this people? Are we not connected to these people? And when we're not connected, then now we get into a situation where we try to be like everyone else, when we don't know what's actually happening in the Joneses houses. So really, when we get into the faith community, we feel these things, but there's this thing like a guilt factor or a shame factor that's connected to it, when we should really just let our hair down and just be normal, as you said before, normal humans.
Yeah. So I think, according to, let's talk about depression a little bit,
Okay.
because I think also we misunderstand a lot about the medical implications of depression. And one of the
Hmm.
things that help us with destigmatizing is making sure that we put the right language to the things that people are going through, so that it becomes normalized. Like, we
Sure.
don't talk
Sure.
down to people who have cancer, but we, will talk down to someone who seems like they are experiencing depressive symptoms. So according to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 21 million adults in the US experienced at least one major depressive disorder
Sure.
last year, right? That's about 8.3% of the adult population. Can you sort of help us understand why managing depression can be especially difficult for someone? And because we're in the church space, for someone who also believes in the power of prayer
Mm.
and faith. Um, how do I still get depressed if I know the Lord? Yeah, help us with that.
Man, when we're dealing with depression, anxiety, when we're dealing with stress, um, um, it could be difficult. One of the reasons why it could be difficult is because people will tend to isolate you based on your feeling of anxiety or your feelings of stress. If you come out and talk about it, on a personal level, and I don't have any problem saying this, when I quote unquote came out that I was dealing with depression and
Oh, I thought
dealing
you were
with
about to say something else.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
but you know something, and
I'm
I'm
just
glad
glad
that
you
you
know.
said it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you said it that way because when we use the word, when we say the word "come out," we 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 um we isolate certain people when we say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We attach
But
it to certain to
sure,
something.
sure, but here's the thing, Dave. The other side of it is that we do the same thing when it comes to mental health,
Yes.
right? So we can say, well, this is how this person is. But once once I've come out and I put it on social media, I said, hey, this is the struggle. I received emails and tons of it, by the way, and DMs. That you should be ashamed as a pastor to be depressed, or you should be ashamed to say that you have struggled with stress or anxiety, and those are the type of things that actually cause people to be isolated or deal with shame that you're not a good Christian. That we should always be joyful and peaceful and victorious in everything. So when someone is feeling sad or even numb or hopeless, um, it's like they feel as though they're failing spiritually or they're failing with their relationship with Jesus Christ, right? It's and what happens is that the shame that they're feeling in a place where they should not feel shame, um, their depression gets heavier, and the heavier it gets, it's the harder that it is to actually talk about it. I'm gonna say this too, man. Sometimes we have a misunderstanding of how God works.
Yeah.
We do. We just have a misunderstanding. Sometimes we expect God to act quickly. We expect Him to be dramatic, or like I can flip on this light switch. But healing, whether it's emotional, spiritual, or physical, it's often a slow, layered, and the truth. I'm going to use this word. It's mysterious, Dave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to. I don't want to. We all are in different categories when it comes to these emotions that we go through. But my healing process, um, it took 6 months just to get out of the blues, right, and
Yeah.
to start managing. Some might be shorter, and that's why I don't want to mix anyone up. Some might be shorter, some might be a whole lot. It may take a whole lot more time than it is, but I had a community that I can talk to that helped me actually through it.
Yeah, and I think it's very important for us to sort of identify the pathology of depression.
Hmm. Hmm.
Helping
Hmm.
people understand that it is more than just feeling down or the blues. That for
Right.
some of us, it's a chemical imbalance that creates it, and
Sure.
we
Right.
have to sort of call it what it is and name it what it is, so that we
Hmm.
can bring it to light. When
Hmm.
we talk about coming out, the things that we expose to the light, anything that's kept in the dark grows, especially if it's negative. If we expose it to the light, oftentimes that's where we begin to start the healing process. It's
Sure.
the awareness and the
Sure.
catharsis that we get from telling people about what we're going through that
Hmm.
sort of helps us to bring change. But
Hmm.
we have to even to stigmatize some of the language around how we talk about depression. There's seasonal depression, there's postpartum depression,
Right.
there's clinical depression, there's
Right.
bipolar depression, there's
Right.
there's post-menstrual what is it called, dysphoric disorder.
Sure.
There's
Sure.
disruptive mood there's all types of things that go into talking about depression and depressive symptoms. And so I think it's important for the people of faith to understand and realize that, it's more than just feeling down. You shouldn't
Sure.
say, because I know God, I shouldn't feel down.
That's right.
You don't say that
That's
about
right.
diabetes. You don't say that about cancer. You don't
There
say
we
that
go.
about heart disease.
There we go.
And so it's regulating some of that. But
Mhm.
let me stop talking.
No,
Recent
no.
surveys show, right,
Mhm, mhm.
that even among churchgoers, over 40% report feeling overwhelmed by anxiety at least once a week. What do you think contributes to the anxiety? And I want you to talk to people about what anxiety looks like and sort of help us
Yeah,
put some
yeah,
normalizing language around
yeah. Listen, anxiety is a feeling of fear, right? It's a feeling of worry. You're always feeling as though something negative or something bad is going to happen in the future. That's what anxiety is. It's not like stress, but anxiety isn't always tied to a specific event. Stress could be tied to an event, right? It's a demand that you may have. It's a challenge that you may be dealing with. There's a threat that might be there. And it's easy for you to just say, okay, let me just deal with this. And it can just simply be a stressful situation. I'm talking about stress now, external pressures. But when you're looking at anxiety, it's a persistent sense of dread, even when there is no clear threat of danger and nothing is present, right? Anxiety is like it affects your thoughts, it affects your emotions, and even your body reacts, like causing symptoms like racing heart or trouble sleeping. You have these attacks, so we all feel we have that fear, and and um, and when that happens, or you start to lose control, that's when it's time to seek help. That's when you really have to get to the point of saying, okay, what is going on with my life? I'm no longer enjoying life. I'm no longer enjoying what's happening in life. Let me just share this real quick before.
Yeah.
So when I look at depression, and I know this is really broad, but depression is something in the past. Okay, it's like you're dealing with whatever's in the past. Anxiety is is actually pre-thinking the future. All right. And it's a negative future. It's not saying, okay, this is a great thing. I'm going to get a job. This is the job that I want. You're going through school, and this is what I want to make this money. That's that's not what it is. It's the anxiety of dread in the future.
Mm.
Depression is the dread from the past. So we have to kind of be in a present situation. And that is the difficulty. How
Yeah.
how to stay present is really a struggle. It's really a struggle.
And they're the two most common occurring
Yep.
disorders, because if depression is about dread from the past and
Yep.
anxiety is dread from the future,
Yeah.
all of that conflates itself in the present. And so they oftentimes co occur together, or people
Yeah.
who are experiencing other mental health conditions. It
Yes.
often comes with,
Yes.
a comorbidity of depression or,
Yes.
or of anxiety. But Pat, help some of the church folk, because I got some old mothers on this on the stream that are probably watching and saying, "Come on, Pastor, the Philippians 4:6 says, man, be anxious for nothing. But in everything, prayer and supplication with
Yeah.
thanksgiving, let your
Yeah.
request be known to God, and the
Yeah.
peace of, all that."
Yeah.
So talk to the old mother who's saying, man, the Bible says be anxious for nothing.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You started this off, and even though we were, you know, even though it wasn't, I don't look at it as far as being flippant is concerned, but the truth is that there's only three that's perfect, right? And we have to understand that the Bible it has a footprint, it has a guide that's there. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to overcome everything that we go through. And let's use Jesus as an example. Let me go to Elijah first, then I'll go to Jesus. Right? Elijah has he's a part of a huge feat that just occurred. I mean, to take out all the prophets of Baal, and sometimes preachers, and sometimes those of us who go through preaching or Bible studies, and there's a great reaping or a harvest after it, and you can see it. There's a low point that occurs right after that. That's what Elijah was feeling. Elijah knew that people were after him. After God done all of this for him, he still felt that he was going to die. He was being chased down, but even in that, he was tired. He needed rest. Right? Um, Elijah went through that, and God fed him. God allowed him to rest. Dave, come back. I need to show you something. I need to show you
Yeah.
something.
I mean,
When I was looking at Elijah real quick, I know we had sad, all right, because I want
no,
to
no,
hop
no,
to
go on.
Jesus real quick. But when I think about what happened with Elijah, I think of earth, wind, and fire. Right?
Okay.
And I know it's a group, it's a group from back in the day. But earth, wind, and fire, God had to speak to him, had to send an earthquake to shake him.
Hmm.
Right? God had to send a mighty wind. Right? God had to smoke out whatever it is that he was dealing with so that he could hear the small voice. So I'm saying to like my mom who's like, no, I don't, those Star Wars people, Christians who say you should not go through this. You can't hear God's voice if there's a whole lot of noise around you. And we're making that noise, by the way.
Hmm.
Jesus went through the same thing.
Yeah. Tell
But
us.
when you catch him in the Garden of Gethsemane, oh wait, when they were to kill him before the actual, I mean, he had to slide away. He had to back away. He was in Bethany with Lazarus, and he was like, I can't even go over there right now. Right? We have to find ourselves in a place where we can be in a calm situation. We're talking about Jesus here, right?
Hmm.
In the Garden of Gethsemane, I mean, he's sweating to the point where his pores are leaking blood,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible tells us that, right? Testimonies tells us that. So here's what I want us to understand. You have to have a comeback game. There has to be some way for you to be able to say, okay, though I am going through this, I can succeed through this. If Jesus was in that, sure, we have to be in that same situation. Dave, I've been in a situation before, and there are those who are listening here where you go through crisis where you can't even pray. All right, you can't even pray because the words that you are so used it's not developed enough for what you're going through, and the Holy Spirit reads that, and the Holy Spirit takes care of that, and that is a plain example of putting your life, putting your emotions, you putting your fears in God's hands. So yeah, you're gonna go through some things
Yeah.
even in the last days, right? They said that even the very elect will be worried about some things. Even the very elect would be worried about it.
Hmm.
But what I want us to do is to be able to manage that we're not serving God out of fear or we're not serving him out of worry, but we're serving him because we know that we're in his protecting hand. Just leave it to God. He'll,
Yeah.
he'll he'll take care of it. He'll
So
take care of
what?
it.
So one of the things that we know helps
Yep.
individuals manage their anxiety is routines,
Yeah, yeah,
developing
yeah.
some protective factors or putting some protective factors in place to help them manage sort of the ups, the downs, the fears, the irrationality that sometimes comes with it, the rumination that comes with it, right? So give some people who are overly spiritual some tools for helping them manage, or even those who aren't overly spiritual,
Sure, sure,
some
sure.
tools for helping them manage their anxiety.
Mhm,
Just
mhm.
practical things that we can do to develop habits to sort of protect ourselves from it spiraling out of control.
Dave, practical is that you have to admit that there's a problem. I know
Hmm.
we already know that. Okay. Um, uh, it's difficult for some of us to admit that. I've literally bumped into people who have said, I don't need a therapist. Um, I have Jesus. When we know that Jesus is the greatest therapist. There was a book that was written that you had given to me some years ago. Do you remember the author?
I don't remember the name, but I think it was called Jesus' Therapist or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jesus, the
the
greatest
greatest therapist.
therapist.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
and the reason why I look at that book, and I because he expects us to do exactly what he has done while he walked here on earth, how to talk to people, how to deal with them. So, here's the first thing: acknowledge that there's a problem. Period. Right? You cannot go from day to day anxious day to day. It just tears your body apart. You have to know that there's something wrong. It's number one. I'm talking about real life stuff. For us now as Christians, we have to understand that there's something higher than we are that can control who we are. Period. For non-Christians, they'll say, okay, this statue I look to, or I put all my problems here and there. And to be honest with you, I'm sorry, sometimes it worked. But for me, as far as I'm understanding, go to God. He'll take care of everything. And I know it sounds broad, but you have to go with a supreme function that is higher than you or more powerful than you are, so that
sure.
you can understand that change. Now, let's talk about Pat personally. Let's move those two things. I'm not moving to the side, but let's keep it where that is. The other compartmentalization for me is that I need plenty of rest, Dave. Plenty of rest. Many of us do not sleep 7, and I'll give 7, 8 hours. We just don't do that. We're not giving our bodies time to replenish. We're not giving our minds a time to rest, right? That was one of the things that I needed to do. And I have no shame in my game to say that I had a great nursing practitioner for mental health who has given me medication that I needed just to be able to think to come out of it. I just want to be clear with you. I'm not on it anymore through the goodness of God. I'm grateful that I'm not on it anymore. If you're on medication, stay on it. I'm not telling you to come off it. God has given us physicians in this world to be able to teach us, to be able to help us do this. I just needed it for that time being to slow down my thought process, to slow down my thinking, to slow down my anxiety so that I can hear. Believe
Yeah,
me when I say that. So if you have to do that, go ahead and do that because it actually helps. And and doctor, you know this already. Sometimes you don't get it on the first try. um i need I had my meds on the second try to be able to say, okay, this is actually working for me. And it was great that about maybe 6 months later down the road I was able to wean from it, and I thank God for that. But be careful of some of the things you eat. High sugars.
hmm
Sometimes it's our blood pressure going up and we think it's something else that's happening, right? Sometimes it's heavy cholesterol and we're feeling sluggish and we don't know what it is. So go see your doctor, because it might not be a mind thing, it might be a body, it might be a physical issue that you may be going through, that you're thinking that it's affecting your mind, and then you're going to get caught up in that loop.
they are connected.
They are. They are. They're definitely connected. I see my doctor quite frequently just to make sure that I know what it is. Many times, Dave, you're going to flip on this one. I have clearer thinking when I'm hydrated. Sometimes when you're dehydrated, you're not drinking enough water. I mean, it actually pulls from the function of your brain. I wish I can get deeper into this, but when I know for sure when I'm feeling sluggish, it's because I'm not hydrated. All right.
Yeah,
These are just like basic things. Pastorally, you need to leave the church and leave it where it is. Don't bring it home with you. And you know what I mean by home with you. Don't take it in your car. Don't bring your jobs along with you. You got to have a place where you can call for your own kingdom, a place of rest. I wake up in the mornings. I walk 3 miles, 3 to 4 miles a day. That's when I talk to God. That's when I put my day in effect. And sometimes when I miss that routine, I start to spiral, and I catch that spiral and say, okay, because I didn't walk today, let's not use that as a rabbit's foot to go nuts for the day, right?
mm,
Let's recover. Keep recovering. Keep recovering.
got you.
Let me give another
Yep.
one with you. Um, um, I'm into music, big into music. So sometimes when I want to get hype, I play my hip hop music. I play this, that, and the other, just to get hype. But music can also calm you. All right. So I love classical to become. I try to stay away from, this is personal. I try to stay away from the Eastern type stuff. Sometimes you don't know what it's actually telling you, because music is a language. It's still a language. So we have to be careful of what it is that we listen to, or how it shakes our mood. When we find those things happening, seek help. Seek help.
Yeah.
Seek a community. It works that way. I know I've been doing a lot of talking, but
You
this
know.
is my thing now. It's my
Well,
thing.
yeah, that's good. So
Mm.
this has been good. We're almost out of time, but
Okay.
I wanted to sort of bring this to sort of your um, to your attention, right?
Okay.
Um, there's a question here, right,
Mhm, mhm.
that I thought was very important, that I don't think we've touched on, right? For the person that's watching right now who may
Yeah.
be feeling exhausted, isolated, or ashamed about what they're feeling, right? What's one step, just one step that you can give them today? One step that they can take towards sort of hope and healing. One thing.
Dave, I can go. Of course, we went through, you know, the learning aspect of it. Higher learning of all this is. Um, Let me put this out here. I have a lot of resilience.
Hmm.
I'm a resilient person. And I'm going to say this: when I found that I didn't brush my teeth for 3 minutes and I only did it for 1 minute, when I found that I skipped showers, or you're rushing through things, when I find that all my clothes are piled up, this is Pat stuff. When my clothes are piled up on this chair that I have in my room, and my night table starts to get cluttered, I know that's where my mind is. Something is going on in my mind. When you start to find yourself that your routine is getting muddy, um, I'm going to tell you the first step. And I know we live in a spiritual, faith-based community, so I don't want to say, "Okay, pray." I don't want to seek help, Dave.
Yeah.
I have to keep. I have to stay there. Seek help. There's nothing embarrassing to say, "Okay, I want to go through 6 phases of therapy for someone to actually see what's actually happening." I know we say we have our wives, we have our husbands, we have our best friends, we have our. I get that. I get that. But excuse me, what I love about therapists and good therapists, you don't even have to be a great therapist, but even a good therapist that you have, they should be allowing you to empty your soul, to empty whatever is there and leave it at that table. Your therapist is not going to bring it home with you. You're going to leave it on that table. It's for you to be much aware of what's happening. I learned this from you. We had talks about this before. This is the reason why your therapist can't be your friend. Dave, as much as I love you as a friend, you cannot be my therapist, right? You could be an accountability partner, but you can't be my therapist. You, Friends do not push therapy to the side and say, I'm a sinner, or I don't trust in, I'm not trusting in God. The first step you need to do is to seek help, whether going to psychologytoday.com, or Dave, I even know this, on our website, we have, I hope I'm not skipping steps, but I want to tell somebody now who might just be watching this, that even on our website, Allegheny East website, AEC, visit aec.org, you can get in contact with, where you can get therapists that's there, and even Christian therapists that's there to be able to help you with it. Seek therapy. Here's a shameless plug. You ready for my same shameless plug?
Yeah, yeah. It's not going to be shameless, but go on and plug it.
I have a shirt that I put out that's called, I have Jesus and a Therapist. All right. And anytime I wear it, somebody stops me and talks to me about it. And that's the reason why I wear it. And of course, I give towards Seventh Adventist Christian education for those who buy it. But on Critical Thinking with a Q, criticalthinking.com, there's a store there. I believe that you can have Jesus and a therapist. Therapist is not your friend. Okay, it's not your friend. But my step one, of course, Jesus. But go seek help. Go seek help. Dave, I said all of that to say, go see a therapist.
Yeah, and this was great. This was great. I want to thank you for coming on, for sharing, for being open, for being
Sure.
transparent, for bringing light to this very important issue. It is my hope and my prayer during this month that we would open up this conversation in some of our sacred spaces so that they become safe spaces
Yeah.
for people who are struggling. So, just one last thing: give
Yep.
us one guiding scripture or one guiding word that brings peace, that could bring peace to someone who's stressed, anxious, depressed. Just give us just give us a word of parting advice.
I'm actually working on this text. It's Psalms 46 and verse 1. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, a very present help in trouble. I'm trying to break down that word present. He's our refuge and strength and a very present help in trouble. Psalms 46, verse 1. He was with you in the past. He's already figured out your future. So when I see that word, Dave, present, I'm trying to get on that, to stay present with who you are, what's happening around you. Um, that Bible text is something that I'm working on to stay in the present, because if I think about all the things that have happened in the past, it's going to depress me. If I think
Yeah,
about the future, which I know nothing about, it's going to cause me anxiety. So that text helps me to stay present, and the refuge and the strength, or what he with his protection, is right here and right now.
yeah.
That's the text I have for everyone today.
Pat, listen, I want to thank you
Sure.
for coming on. I want to thank you for sharing with us. I hope that those who are watching got something from this. I just want to invite you all to join us for part two of our Real Talk series, where we'll be sitting down and we'll be talking with Dr. Kelly Holder about the myths and misconceptions of mental illness. Have a wonderful day.